Well, I want to welcome Elena Danaan again to Exopolitics Today. I'm Dr. Michael Salla, and it's my pleasure to have you back here, Elena, and to clarify some things that many people are very confused about when it comes to human-looking extraterrestrials being part of the positive agenda, but then it seems that some are part of the negative agenda. So I thought it'd be great to have you kind of walk us through from the very beginning, from the days of people like Maria Orsic, who in the 1920s began to work with the Aldebaran human-looking extraterrestrials. So welcome, and yeah, just tell us what you know of Maria Orsic.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm very delighted to help bringing a bit of clarity in all this confusion. I have to say it is very confusing because there are so many different humanoid alien races who at first sight look alike, and it is very confusing. Not talking also about the some reptilians able to shapeshift into these beings, take the appearance of these beings. So all of this is very confusing, but I can talk in details more after that. The people from Aldebaran, the Aldebaran system, is populated by two main humanoid cultures who are both involved with Earth, but both are not, don't have the same agendas. One is a Lyran colony, tall blonde people. They name themselves the Ahel. These ones are part of the Galactic Federation. They are nice people, but not really involved. But they step back a little bit. But we are talking about now the other colony, which is also a colony, but human looking, like tall, blonde humans, but who are not related to the group of Lyra, Pleiades, these ones. They have nothing to do. These ones are a descendant colony from Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki are greys who look like humans. And I've been told that in their language, Anunnakini means human-like, looking like human. So these ones, I was explained, were working with Maria Orsic and not really helping for the greater good of humanity, because this colony of Anunnaki, I think their name is the Jadai Anunnaki, it's the Jadai Anunnaki, not the original Anunnaki, they are a part of them, a colony of them. Mm-hmm. They are working with the reptilian collective and Sikar Empire, the reptilian Sikar Empire, who is involved with Antarctica because they have had a colony since a very long time ago under the Antarctica, and I have to say under basically everywhere on Earth. They went underground a very long time ago. So this reptilian empire who allied with the Nazis, well,
Before we get there,
yes.
Before we get there, I mean, you gave me this simplified chart.
Yes.
And so I just put it on the screen. So maybe you can explain a little bit about, you know, the main human groups, main human-looking extraterrestrial groups. You've got 3 groups here. And,
yes.
and so maybe that helps clarify exactly what you were talking about in terms of the different, you know, the Lyran groups, the Aldebarans from Lyra, and so I mean, this is your diagram. So why don't you just explain that to us?
Yes, of course. So the Lyra constellation was the cradle of humanity, human species. They have been seeded. It has been seeded in this constellation in different star systems from other much older extraterrestrials coming from either another dimension or galaxy. This I haven't been explained. But anyway, the Lyra Kepler 62 star system, which they call themselves the MAN system, M-A-N, had different species living there, and it was attacked by the reptilian empire a long time ago, and many colonies left to go many other places. So concerning us, who was there in this MAN K62 system in Lyra constellation? Two races called Tal and Ahel. The Tal and Ahel are both humanoid people, at the difference that the Tal really look like humans, like Terrans, like Earthlings, really look like Earthlings. They can have even brown hair, not especially always blonde. They can be blonde, but not all the time. The Ahel are all taller, blonde, always blonde or white hair, bigger eyes, very big. We can really identify them as non-human because their eyes are really oversized, very muscular, you know, that's like this. So these two groups, Tal and Ahel, left the K62 system from Lyra and built colonies in lots of places in this galaxy. But what interests us is that they built a colony in Aldebaran and in the Pleiades. So the Ahel built this colony in the Aldebaran system, the Jadayail, and they also built a colony in the Pleiades cluster on Hera. So these ones are benevolent. They work with the Galactic Federation, and they have a big role in the Galactic Federation because this culture is very skilled for military organization and technology, and they're very benevolent and quite spiritually evolved. So these ones we don't have to worry about. They are our allies and helpers. What we have to worry about is the Tal. The Tal are they are so much like us. They can ally with malevolent organizations just for purpose of power or conquest. So the Tal have been in the Pleiades as well, and there's a whole story there between the different groups in the Pleiades. We can go in details afterwards. And so that's about the Tal. And then you have the Altair group, which very anciently came from Lyra, but they are very distinct. And the Altair, the corporate of Altair, they form the corporate of Altair and the Humanoid Alliance. So these two are bad. The Altairan are humans with white hair and very skinny, very thin. They are also called tall whites, but you know, you must be very careful with the name tall whites because it is put on different species. For instance, some species of greys are called tall whites. Many other species are called tall whites. So we must not really put tall whites in, oh, are they bad, are they good? It's difficult. So the Altair have formed an alliance with the Reptilian Collective, and they have been involved. They are very discreet. They have been involved with the Cabal and the Deep State. They also have been involved with Antarctica. You know, they play like pawns once against the other. They like to do that. So they work with the Reptilian Collective.
So I just wanted to ask, in terms of the tall whites, now I don't know if you've heard of someone called Charles Hall, but he wrote a series of books about the tall whites. And he said that in the mid-1960s, he was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, and that he saw that he worked with the tall whites there, that they had agreements with the US Air Force. And so have you heard of that case? I mean, do you know of the tall whites that Charles Hall
No,
worked with? Have you heard of that case?
I haven't, and I'm going to
Uh,
inform myself about it. But it can have it could have been the Altairan humanoids or the Keely Tokurt, who are tall greys who were as well at Area 51.
Okay, I have a picture of them, so I just wanted to show you. I'll do a share
Yes.
screen so we can see the
Yes.
picture. And you tell me if they are a human group or a group of greys.
That's the Keely Tokurt. That's the group of greys. They look
Okay.
like humans. They have, yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very good, because Charles Hall said that the Air Force had reached agreement with these guys in the 50s, and that they are there at Indian Springs at Nellis Air Force Base, and they're being, they're given base rights, and they exchange technology with the Air Force. So, okay, so these are not an example of human
No.
extraterrestrials. These are gray extraterrestrials that look human.
Yes. Yes. I have. Excuse me. I can show you the drawing I made of them that have been shown to me by Thorhan.
Mm.
You will be very impressed that it really looks like the female looks like the drawing on this photo. I'm trying to be very quick finding it.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephen Chow, at an interview that worked in Area 51, said it was these ones, and this is the picture, and you can see that the female look exactly like the drawing you just showed me.
Yes, yes, yes.
So these ones have nothing to do with the Nazis and Antarctica and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They work with the American government, the American secret space program, and so that's the Orion Gray Collective. Although they are not from Orion, but are part of it. So to
Okay.
yeah.
So they're not Altarians, like these
No.
tall whites. They're not connected to Altair. So okay,
No.
so you've explained the main human groups: Altarians, the Lyrans, and the Aldebrans. And so Maria Orsic, in the 1920s, gets these psychic communications from the Aldebrans. That's from Aldebrand giving her instructions in the ancient Sumerian language on how to build spacecraft. And so the Tool Society helped her do that.
Sumerian language, Anunnaki, colony of Anunnaki, it all makes sense because the Anunnaki were in faction in the Sumer area, Mesopotamia, when they were on Earth very long time ago, and they were the ancient gods. Well, anyway, that's the whole story. But yes, all makes sense. Sumerian language, the Jedi Anunnaki colony from Aldebaran. That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And
and they are not friend of humanity. They are allied with the reptilian collective. So
that's
they
important.
gave technology. So what I've been told is that the reptilians wanted to empower the Nazis and give them technology to empower themselves to use them, because they trade slave and they want slave workforce, the reptilians. So they get in all the worlds, every world they conquer, they do that. They get local population, they train local populations to keep their own slaves and manage the slave planet themselves. They trained these people, they empowered them to have minions to work for them. So they gave them technology, and I don't know why this colony from Aldebaran. Maybe they were picked to do the job because they are not reptilian. They look like humans. They quite look good. So maybe it wasn't frightening. They look like tall humans with beautiful long white hair, and but they are grays looking like humans. And maybe because they looked good, didn't frighten, maybe Maria Orsic, who was in contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, they looked nice, but they weren't.
Right. So that would explain the kind of transition then between Maria Orsic working on the Vril spacecraft in the 1920s with Professor Schumann, W.O. Schumann, that they started to build the first Vril craft that was all civilian, all run by the German secret societies. And then in 1933, Hitler came to power and the Nazi SS took everything over. And then at some point, they made agreements with the reptilians, the draconians. So I guess the question is that the Aldebrands were always working with the reptilians. So when the Nazis took power, the reptilians just started to work directly with Hitler. Do you know anything about that? Were you told anything about the transition from the Aldebrands helping the Germans, in the 20s and 30s, to then the reptilians helping the Germans? Or was it always just a kind of loose alliance?
I don't know everything, of course, only what I've been explained. And, when I see Thorhan, there's so many thousands of questions I want to ask him,
Mm-hmm.
so never have the time to. But he was saying to me that the reptilians had planned for a long time to empower a certain group of humans
Mm-hmm.
who had the potential to become their minions. So they had abducted a lot of them, like preconditioned them. They have armed this part of the world by helping industries. I don't know which industries. They had prepared this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the Sikaar Empire from Alpha Draconis,
Mm-hmm.
and working with the reptilian collective based in Orion, which gathers the the Sikaar Empire from Draconis, and other reptilian races from Orion. So either that we say the reptilian collective or the Sikaar Empire, it's basically the same people. So these ones were here on Earth since a long time. And they were waiting to be able to empower technologically some groups of humans to, as I say, to be their minions, and to create something very, very dark, to use as a military force to take over other parts of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, that sounds very clear, and it actually fits in with someone, Len Kasten. He wrote a book called The Dark Fleet, and his book was very interesting because it made that case, exactly what you said, that the Germans had been cultivated for a long, long time by the reptilians to provide this kind of mercenary force that would eventually be technologically developed with spacecraft and thousands of super soldiers that could then fight alongside the reptilians in these interstellar wars. That had been planned for a long time, and that's the Dark Fleet. So that was his analysis.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's exactly what I'm told. I mean,
Yeah.
the same narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the Dark Fleet, you remember I told you last time we spoke that I had the opportunity to see a bit of the Dark Fleet through Thorhan's eyes while
Mm-hmm.
in contact with him during the first raids on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him more about that. And I said, these flying saucers I briefly saw with your eye, could you please, in your head, visualize them again and remember your memory that I can look at them better?
Mm-hmm.
So he did that. And in fact, it looks like from under the Honobu you showed me, but
Mm-hmm.
it is different. It is like the more futuristic version of it. It hasn't got all the little bits of difference. It's like flat underneath. And it has these 3 balls still, but it's like the upgrade version. And he said to me, there are many different types of ships in this dark fleet. It's not only these ones. These ones are the original that have been improved and enhanced, but there are other ones. There are triangulars, and there are, he said, egg shapes, like an egg shapes. And he said, so don't just stop your mind that to think that the dark fleet, it's only these improved honorable saucers. It's just a part of it. That's what he said. But he said, yes, it's the same thing. It's the improved honorable, which is more performant, and they have really improved the design of it.
Okay, there's something that would be helpful to clarify here is this craft is this the kind of thing that was seen? Oh, let's just bringing it up now. Whoops, yeah, maybe that's not a good example. Oh, hang on, maybe something like that. Whoops, no.
Yeah.
It was more something like this. This is a model of a saucer craft.
It looked like this, exactly like this underneath. I told you I never saw the top of it because it passed over us like this. Okay. Yes, it was it was saucer shape with a round underneath, a round patch, and 3 balls.
So something like what we're just seeing now on the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but it was more aerodynamic. It was there wasn't this bell shape. The underneath was more of a one smooth piece. You know, it was more futuristic or aerodynamic than that. It was more ergonomic shape, I'd say, than this one. But underneath, it really looked like this. Central patch and 3 balls. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because this is something that I'm sure a lot of people have a question, is that because this is a drawing based on the George Adamski flying saucer craft, and that he says were from Venus. And so there's a lot of confusion there, because some people believe that these were craft that belonged to the Venusians, whereas others, and I did this in one of my books, so I actually said, well, you know, the George Adamski's craft looked like the Hannibal craft. So, you know, were these actually Hannibal crafts? So, you know, some supporters of George Adamski were very upset at me for saying that. So maybe, you know, what's your take on this whole thing that those flying saucers come from Venus as opposed to Hannibal craft that were built by the Germans with the help of reptilians?
Well, that's my experience and the few knowledge I know. It may upset some people, but up to them not to take it, you know? That's just me. So Venus, there's no Nazis, there's no dark fleet on Venus. It's colonies from the Council of Five and the Federation. But there are outposts in the solar system where these ships are based, like Moon, Mars, and Ceres, and also there's a satellite of Saturn as well. When they go in contact with people on Earth, they won't say, we are the Dark Fleet, we're Nazis, we are from blah, blah, blah. They say, oh, we're from Venus. We're Venusians.
Okay.
And that's a lie to me.
Very important.
That's my take.
Yes.
Take it or leave it.
I'm glad you said that, because I said the same thing in one of my books, Antarctica's Hidden History. And I said that the Venusians, that some people that claim, or some contactees that believe that they're in touch with Venusians, in fact, were in touch with the Germans who were claiming to be from off planet, that was part of the agreement. So let's
Yes.
get back onto this whole topic of the Aldebrans and the helping the Nazis during the Second World War and up to the Second World War. Now, at some point, the Pleiades, or those from Alcyon, coming to the picture. So how did the Pleiadians from Alcyon coming to the picture? Because in your diagram, you point out that that there are groups of Pleiadians from Taygeta that are positive, and there are other groups from Alcyon that are negative. So how did the Alcyon Pleiadians get involved with the Germans and Antarctica?
So all started when the Lyran colonies fled their K62 system. They found the Pleiades, where the Pleiades cluster was very, very young, was already a project to terraform planets, because they liked to do that, these cultures, terraform planets, manipulate life and things like that. So they went straight to the Pleiades, and they went, we're not going to disturb any culture, any life. We're going to build terraformed planets of our own, and that would be great. So they picked first the system of Taygeta, which was more the easiest, regarding some criteria, which I don't know. They terraformed planets. They were 3 colonies. And they terraformed 10 planets. Many planets are used for resources, mining resources. The Ahel, the tall blonde with big eyes, tall muscular blonde that we always see in blue suits, those who are nice, they got for themselves the biggest planet, Hera. And Tal, the other race, looking more like us, were envious. They wanted this, they competed for this planet, and they didn't get it. They got another planet named Tamar. The Tal are very proud. They consider themselves as royalty, and they always want the best. They are a bit competitive, but they're nice, but they're a bit competitive. So there was a faction of them that broke from the Tal, from Tamar. They were called renegade Tal. They fled to the Alcyon system nearby. They terraformed their own planets, and they settled there. But they were very resentful, and they since then kept a very bad relationship with the Ahel from Taygeta. They were a bit on their own. They started to join the Federation, but they got kicked out very quickly because they didn't fit the requirement of being a peaceful and progressive culture. So they felt a bit on their own, and they decided to request for protection from the Orion group, the Nebu, the Alliance of the Six, the Despicable Grey Alliance, Grey and Reptilian Alliance. And in exchange, they say, okay, but you allow a colony of reptilians to settle in the Alcyon system. And that was the deal. So the Alcyon Tal work with and for the Reptilian Collective, the Nebu from Orion, all these people who also work with the Cabal on Earth. So they would do anything to serve them, their protectors, and also anything to discredit the Taygetan Ahel. So that is how they have been getting involved in some projects on Earth. And I know they are working with the Cabal. They look like humans, so they infiltrate a lot our societies. They are very fit for our atmosphere and gravity. They're really our space brothers, the Tal, really. So it's very easy to have them doing the job. I didn't know they had been involved in Antarctica until you mentioned it in your last video, and I was, oh my God, that really fits the picture.
Mhm.
They are working a lot at manipulation now to discredit the Galactic Federation, mainly run by the Ahil from Taygeta. So they are really manipulative, and they use people who have a voice in some media platforms and things like this to say, oh, the Galactic Federation works with the Cabal, do not ally with them. The reptilian from Alpha Draconis are your friends, things like this. And you go, wait a minute. But that's what they do. And so when you mentioned that they had helped the Nazis in Antarctica in coordination with the reptilians, it totally fits the story, because these Tal from Alcyon work with the reptilian collective and the Seeker Empire. So that's what I can say. That's what I know about them. So every
Mhm.
pieces of the puzzle come together, it seems.
Yeah, it's very interesting because that connection between the Alcyon or the Pleiadians, and the Germans and Antarctica came from the remote viewing sessions that Courtney Brown organized, where he had 5 remote viewers focusing on Antarctica and looking at what happened there, and Courtney analyzed the data where they talked about reptilians and human-looking extraterrestrials helping the Germans, and Courtney made the connection, and he actually said the Pleiades, that these are Pleiadians, and that was very interesting, because I know that you in your book talked about that renegade Pleiadian faction, the from Alcyon, and so that was a very interesting connection. So I guess then that when the Germans made the agreement with the reptilians during the Second World War, and the reptilians helped the Germans establish bases in Antarctica, that it was like that was the Germans had signed on to work with everyone in that reptilian collective, or with the Orions, that was a kind of like a package deal. Now the Germans begin working with these human-looking groups, whether they're from Aldebaran, the Anunnaki, or these renegade Pleiadians from Alcyon.
Yes, this is exactly what it is. And what to say more? you know,
So,
yes.
so it's it's very confusing then for a lot of people, because they want to understand, well, how do we make sense of this? How can we tell if a human-looking extraterrestrial is with the good guys or the bad guys, if you have them on both sides? And of course, um, there's the Galactic Federation of Worlds that you're working with, and that Thorhan is a part of. So I assume then that Thorhan, he comes from Taygeta. He's from that Taygeta, the Ahel group of Pleiadians, and so there's
Yes,
that group, and then the other group is the Orion collective,
yes,
and then you have the reptilian, the draconian empire, I guess. So
yes,
those are the 3 main groups, and so
yes.
there's human-looking extraterrestrials in all of those groups, which makes it very confusing.
It is very confusing. There, there are, okay. The best way to recognize them, to be sure, the good Pleiadians, the benevolent Pleiadians, the Ahel, they are taller, very muscular, and blonde, always blonde, high cheekbones. But what you can really identify them with is their eyes. They have very slanted eyes, very oversized eyes that goes a little bit farther here. The Tal the renegades, Pleiadians, and the Altair and the Aldebaran, they have normal eyes. So that's when you see oversized blue eyes and blue suits, blonde hair, very muscular. That's the good Pleiadians, the Ahel. The Taal, they look like us. You can't tell the difference. The Altair people, they all very pale skin and white hair. We can call them also tall whites. So that's a way. So anyway, there's something very easy. Tall white, not good. Anything that can enter under the denomination of tall whites, you need to be careful with, because the Altair humanoids, they're tall, very skinny, very pale skin, white hair, tall white. The Greys working in Area 51, who look a bit like humans, white, tall, skinny, no hair or white, scarce white hair, tall white. Anunnaki, same, Greys, looking like humans, very pale skin, tall whites. There is no benevolent appellation for tall whites, you know. If they fit the description, be very careful. Then you have all the people who I haven't spoken about them. The races from the Centauri systems, Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri, Beta Centauri. These ones look like us, but mainly blonde and fair skin as well. But these ones are not really involved with Earth. They are with the Federation, but they're not really active. So we may forget about them. So you need to remember if they have the tall, blonde, muscular, wider eyes, that's the Ahel good Pleiadians from Taygeta. If they are white hair or no hair, very, very skinny, or they are either Altairan, either tall grays, Kili Tokurt, no good. Mm-hmm. That would be how I could help identify them.
Mm-hmm. So there's some subtle physiological differences that people can tune into. Yes. What about emotionally? I mean, around like the those from the Ahel or the positive Pleiadians. I mean, is the feeling you get from them, like from their aura, is that kind of like very peaceful, blissful, as opposed to maybe someone from Alcyon who might be more harsh, or it's a harder energy? I mean, can you tell energetically the difference?
It's true. It's good to mention it. The Ahil from Taygeta they have a strength about them. There is a strength about them and a very peaceful. Suddenly you feel like, oh, you're calmed, and they very you feel this love feeling. And there's something like, it's like an energy signature. Although you feel peaceful, there is a kind of sizzling, very quick energy, very sizzling energy, like zzz. It's like that. That's a higher frequency, because they are of a higher frequency, these people. And you can feel it. It like lifts your vibration. You feel like tickling in your chest, like feel like hyper. It's even you feel good, you feel in peace, but this is contradictory energetic approach of a higher frequency about them. Mm-hmm. And you feel like you're excited, like a feeling, you know, and joy, and you feel good. The Altairan they are very discreet. You won't get this feeling of, oh, you want to go to them. No, the Altairan, they don't want to approach people. They are quite discreet and bit distant. The Kili Tokurt, the tall whites who work in Area 51, they don't want interaction with people. You don't feel this high uplifting energy. Even some of them, you feel like you are sucked into a dark vortex. It's like you feel nauseous nearly. And Stephen Chow, who met them at Area 51, describes very well this feeling. Like you just don't want to go there. And then the Tal, you feel nothing. They're like us. The Tal, you won't feel. The Tal, let's say, that's those. So those we're talking about those from Alcyone. You won't feel this sizzling high energy or this love thing. You will feel like discomfort and kind of, it's sort of hyperactivity, but a bit warrior like. I don't know how to describe that. It's a bit different. Yeah.
Well, some people are very interested in the name that you use for the beings from Tal, the Tal Shiar, which of
Yes.
course in the Star Trek series it refers to the Romulan Secret Service. So is that just synchronicity? I mean, because it does seem to describe, what you've just described now. That would be like the attributes of the Tal Shiar in the Star Trek series, like the Romulan Secret Service, very secretive, very manipulative, and
they're very
can be very hard.
well. That's funny because Thoran told me about the emotions. That the Ahil, when they allow their emotion to flow through them and they embrace their emotion, that's how they can get rid of them and manage them very easily. But he said to me that the Tal, they retain their emotion to protect themselves, and they are very good at hiding their emotions. It looks a bit like Star Trek. But when Thoran told me this name, I went, that reminds me something. I don't know. And he said, there is a lot of cinema industry that has been preconditioned and influenced by either malevolent or benevolent groups. And he said that Jane Roddenberry was in contact with benevolent extraterrestrial beings who gave him a lot of information to precondition humanity to their future. And there's a lot of messages in Star Trek, apparently, that have been given. So Jane Roddenberry didn't have all the description of the races, so he had to invent a little bit of how they look like. There's a lot of invention, but there are truths spread in the Star Trek series, the earliest ones.
Interesting, because I know that some people have written about the connection between Gene Roddenberry and the Council of Nine. This was a group that was being channeled. Andrea Puharich was the first one to organize meetings where the Council of Nine were being channeled by an Indian. I think it was Professor Vinod. He was the first one. I think after him, I think it was Phyllis Schlemmer. I think even Uri Geller as well channeled the Council of Nine. But I think with Andrea Puharich, that he did organize meetings that Gene Roddenberry sat in on, and that Professor Vinod was channeling the Council of Nine. And so is that where Roddenberry had information about the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or was it some other source that you know of?
That is very interesting. I would believe that because I know of two organizations who could be named Council of Nine. It could be either the Andromedan Council. They are not always named like that, but it could be as well the now named Council of Five, who was Council of Nine until very recently, a few races left. And the Council of Five, I know, works very tightly with the Galactic Federation.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be them.
Mm-hmm.
That would totally match. I heard another story, but this one, not from my contacts. I don't remember it was. I may have read it somewhere, that Jane Roddenberry met also a blonde alien woman who told him about the Federation. But I don't know if that is, that's not from my sources. I would really, really believe this Council of Nine information. Makes
Well,
sense.
I actually, in one of my books on the US Navy Secret Space Program, I talk a lot about William Tompkins, who worked with Douglas Aircraft Company. And he said that at Douglas Aircraft Company, there were 3 human-looking extraterrestrials that had infiltrated the company and were helping engineers and designers like him come up with ideas for building future spacecraft for the Douglas Aircraft Company. And so it's possible that one of those extraterrestrials were connected with Roddenberry later on. Do you know anything about that? I mean, had you heard anything about
No.
human-looking extraterrestrials infiltrating corporations like aviation companies to help them come up with designs for future spacecraft?
Yes. Yes. The Galactic Federation has a program, and they use either people from the Centauri system who look like us, or either Umit. They are human-looking extraterrestrial. They have a high forehead. They're mainly blonde. They are very wise and they are very good in technology and sciences. And they are those who are often sent to advise technicians and scientists, and so either the Umit or either the people from Centauri systems who are part of the Federation. I know these are people are part of these programs of helping secretly, especially US scientifics, especially in US, to develop benevolent technology. Yeah, I know that's what I've heard.
So that makes total sense then, that that the Orion Collective and the Draconian Empire were working with the German breakaway group in Antarctica to help them develop advanced technologies and then get influence over the planet. But on the other hand, you had the Galactic Federation working with some, say, positive human groups like the US Navy, that seems to be more kind of positive, to help them develop some advanced technologies so that one day humanity could maybe break free of this kind of negative reptilian Orion influence.
They not only they work for it, but they believe it is the future of humanity, and they are helping us preparing it. They cannot give us the technology because it would break their law of non-intervention, but they've kind of broken it. They find ways around it because it doesn't concern only us insignificant little earthlings. It concerns the whole galaxy behind that story. So they are really getting around it. They are preparing us for the future they know we are going to have. And they are fighting to get us rid of these reptilians and greys. And in the same time, parallel to that, they are boosting us to develop our technologies to when these parasites are gone, we are able to stand up back on our feet and move forward. So yeah, but at the moment, it's all secret because bringing up this technology now, it would be technological war, and a bad organization could take this, or it's not the moment. So they are preparing us, but the moment will come. I trust that.
Okay, so do you know anything about the whole secret space program genre where, say, the Dark Fleet has been developed between the Germans, some major multinationals, and the Draconians? And on the other hand, you have something called the Solar Warden program that grew out of the US Navy, that has been collaborating with human-looking extraterrestrials. William Tompkins and others talked about the Nordics, but it could well be this galactic federation of worlds that has been active, helping them build very large space carriers, all done secretly off planet.
Yes, they are really preparing it. That's the Galactic Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And the Galactic Federation has started the last 2 decades to work with US government mainly, but also France, Israel, I know England, Japan, and Germany, but not the Nazis, not Germany, real good people. It's totally different. And he said to me other countries, but not interesting to know. Okay. So it's mainly US. And they are, yes, they are preparing us to build ourselves up technologically and to also, they are on our side, the Galactic Federation, and they are working at getting rid of the Orion Group and the Reptilian Empire, who works with the Nazis. So there is effectively a war between these 2 factions. The Orion Group and Reptilian Collective fights the Galactic Federation also on this level of scientific and technological level. And that's what I would say. And yes, Solar Warden is absolutely has been helped a lot by the UMIT and the Galactic Federation. That's what I know. Yeah.
One of the questions I often get is, is there a French secret space program? And I think, France must have a secret space program. Yes. That it built independently of the Americans and of the Russians and of the Chinese, and also, of course, of the Germans, just because France has had a very large empire for many centuries, and it has, especially in places like Indochina and Africa, a lot of hidden technologies that were built or that were discovered. Do you know anything about France and its secret space program?
Being French, I've been close to know something. Yes, there is a French secret space program. There is this company, the CNES, National Center for Space Studies, who trains also astronauts, and which I'm convinced sends astronaut to Mars, Moon, different places. I was working for a scientific institution in archaeology as an archaeologist. And maybe because everything is known, that I was an abductee maybe, or that I had psychic abilities. Anyway, this scientific center for archaeology was in a way in communication, correspondence with this space center. And it was in the same town, in Toulouse. One day I was invited to come to the headquarters of the archaeology scientific center, and they wanted to re-evaluate me. I went, all right. So they said, we're sending you a taxi, and okay, great. And the taxi took me into the space center, and I went, what? It's not the right address. It said, yes, that's where I need to bring you. And that was weird. And I was received in this space center buildings, and I was very disturbed. That's anyway. And they offered to me to do remote viewing. They wanted to take me to do remote viewing and insert me in programs. And they said you would do only that, and you would be super well paid, but it would be secret, and you would be sworn to secrecy. My instinct kicked so badly to run out of there. And I ran so much that I really left the town, left the job, everything, and I went abroad. I was scared. And that's how I knew that they have secret programs. you know.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Very good. So I just wanted to kind of like get you to maybe say a little bit about one of the updates you did recently on your
Yes.
website, where you said that Thorhan came to you and told you that they had launched a major operation and that they were very successful, and he was very happy, and that this augured very well for the future. So I guess you probably can't talk too much about the specifics of that operation, but where are we now in terms of this process of the Galactic Federation helping curb or remove the power of the Draconian and the Orion Collective over our planet? Where are we now in that process? And does that mean that now the good people, the white hats in different countries, are going to be able to succeed in exposing the truth and helping our planet rid itself of a lot of this evil that has been controlling it for such a long time?
Yes, so the Galactic Federation is fighting in space first to destroy one by one the outposts of these invasive, malevolent alien organizations, such as we named. There has been big fights on the moon. I was told that the moon was now free from all extraterrestrial outposts. It was just humans. Mars has been, as they have, the Galactic Federation has started raiding Mars. So Thorhan told me it may take months, years, because Mars is very difficult. It's very weaponized. There are many organizations on Mars, holding facilities. There's the Dark Fleet, there's the Reptilian Seeker Empire, and there is the Orion Group, and also 2 human colonies who are working with the reptilians and in a way scared of us. They, even if they wanted to pull out, they couldn't. So they will try to free these humans. It will be difficult, but they have started attacking. There is resistance on Mars from local species, ancient species who still live there. He said these are insectoids and reptilians. It's like a resistance, and the Federation is arming them, it's giving them weapons and training them, and which is, it's like a sci-fi movie. It's absolutely incredible. There is, I know next after Mars, Saturn will be involved, but everybody knows that's going to happen. There's a satellite of Saturn, one of the satellites where there's an outpost of the Dark Fleet and Reptilian as well. Then the asteroid belt. He told me about the asteroid belt, which wasn't yet sorted. So I don't know what's in the asteroid belt, but there's something very bad that will sooner or later be attacked and sorted out. So that's what they're doing in space at the moment. The moon is ours now, but Mars is now the battleground, the hot spot, and that's gonna get really messy, he told me, but that's needed. So starting on Mars, interestingly, he said that because they started raiding Mars, they can now start to destroy a certain type of satellites that are around Earth. There are many projects of satellites, putting satellites around Earth. There are different corporations who have invested in projects to put satellites. Most of these satellites are satellites meant to broadcast low frequency emissions correlated with, I won't say the words, and chipping humanity to activate this chipping. So before they were deactivating them like strategically, but now I don't know why it's because they attacked Mars, they can now start to destroy them. That's linked. And a few days ago, one morning I got this outburst of emotion from Thorhan, and that when that happens, it just connects us. And I went, what's happening? And he was very joyful and hopeful. It was a feeling of hope. And I said, what is happening? He said, we have successfully completed an operation on Earth. And it is a big thing, and it has lifted the frequency of the planet, because we have gotten rid of a big bunch of reptilian beings. So I asked more informations. So they have been fighting with the alliance. The Galactic Federation has created this alliance with Earth, good military forces. It's called the Alliance or the Earth Alliance. They are fighting on the ground to clear out the dumps, but not only the dumps, the deep underground military bases, the whole connected web of tunnels and speedways, that connects really everything together. They have apparently liberated a big chunk of them. In his head, he gave me a blurry image. And the position, the location where it was south of India, in the Indian Ocean. That area in the Indian Ocean, between southwest of India, and the east coast of Africa. This area, more in the south. That has happened in the last week. He didn't want to tell more, but the fights are going on underground. There is a lot of work involved around Antarctica to isolate Antarctica from all the other underground connections, because it hasn't been sorted yet. They still have a job to do there. That would be the updates I could give to this day.
Very interesting. A few things you said there really kind of got my attention. One was that that the Galactic Federation has forced other extraterrestrial groups to leave the moon and to leave it for humanity. And that's very interesting that it's happening now, because just last week, NASA gave the contract to SpaceX to build the spacecraft to take humans to the moon, in 2004. And of course, China and Russia are going to be doing the same thing. So the rest of this decade, starting from 2024, you're going to have China, Russia, the United States, India, and other countries launching rockets to the moon, and they're going to start building bases there. They're going to start having colonies there. And it's like, well, this is very interesting. Why is it happening now? That kind of makes sense. Well, if the moon has been cleared of the draconian and the Orion influence, then humans can reclaim the moon and start colonizing it.
My God, this is exactly what, wow, it matches. I mean, this is so incredible, because, he even employed the word China and Russia in his speech. He said to me, our job is to get you rid of the parasites. And it was mainly the Orion group, the Greys on the moon, who had slave and mining facilities. He said, but then the satellites it's your satellites, it's your moon, it belongs to you. So we have no rights to intervene. Even if you want nuke it or fight among yourselves on it, we have no rights to intervene. Our job was to clean it for you, to give you back your moon. And he said to me, he said that the American, the French, China and Russia fights on it, it's not our problem. So he named them. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think there's quite a synchronicity there that kind of like helps ground or substantiate what what you've been saying, because yes, it's very interesting that just in the next 3 years, we're going to have so many spacecraft landing on the moon, and they're going to, in 2004, the Americans with SpaceX are going to start landing, and the way Elon Musk is doing it with his SpaceX, I mean, this Starship, it's going to be like it's going to be like a ferry. It's going to be ferrying people back and supplies back and forth between the moon and Earth, just using rocket propulsion. Now, that's not using the secret space program technologies. Whether they're going to reveal any of that, we don't know. But at least in terms of, what people know, you're going to have all of the major countries all using their resources to build and ferry supplies over to the moon. And yeah, this matches matches what we are witnessing now. So it's very interesting. So because many people believe that the Draconians told the Americans in 1972 to not come back to the moon, that the Apollo missions ended because the Draconians said, don't come back. The moon is off limits to humans. And so now it's no more.
And it's very hopeful, because there was this prophecy from the Andromedan Council that brought the Galactic Federation to our solar system that said there is the seed of a very evil galactic tyranny that is going to start on Earth, its moon, and Mars. Its moon, that's done. Earth is being sorted, and Mars, it has started. So it would seem that things are turning well. Or even if the Dark Fleet has outposts, I know they have outposts and colonies in Aldebaran system and in Altair system, the Dark Fleet. They have outposts there because, the reptilians, they arm them and they use them as an army. But even that, if the head is severed and that's it. I think it's very encouraging to hear all these things, and that the Earth people are reclaiming their moon now, and it confirms that. I think it's a month or 2 months ago that I've heard Thorhan saying to me, "That's it, the moon is cleared, it's yours." But I've been in contact with him telepathically, and I've seen twice through his eyes the fights behind the moon, and I've seen one of these black triangular ships being exploded, and it was very violent. All of that, and one day he said, "It's done, the moon is secured." They had a lot of difficulty to secure it, a lot. Mm-hmm. But it lasted for a while because they would come back and come back and come back, and then now it's official. The moon is ours. There's no more slaves, trades on it. It's ours. Mm-hmm. This is so good.
Yeah, that's amazing confirmation as well.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now for what you've been told by Thorhan and the Galactic Federation. So it's been just over an hour, so I don't want to keep it too long. So any kind of final words you want to share with the audience?
Just keep hope. Stop being influenced by fear. Anything that is inducing fear, refuse it. Our enemies are panicking. It is their last chance to try to frighten us. So even if in the coming month you may see more fear, confusion, even if there is this threat of fake alien invasion that I think won't happen. What says Thorhan? They're trying to make that not happen, block it. All of this, it's fear manipulation. Ignore it. We are heading towards our right future, our sovereignty, and we are really on the good timelines. The Galactic Federation of Worlds is our allies. They fight alongside us, and we got this, and keep hope. Things are looking well.
Wonderful. And if people want to learn more about your work or buy your book, where do they go?
They can go on my website, elenadanaan.org, and everything is on it. My book, everything else. My book is available also on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And I have a YouTube channel where I put all my updates and videos with my name, Elena Danaan. So you can keep up with the news there. And that's it. Thank you, Michael.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Elena, for being on Exopolitics Today. Aloha.
Aloha.